Hey Bass Fanatics, Fish Den 365 back with you. Welcome back. We have a very good video that I think if you are into secret baits or wanting a bait that's just a little bit different, then this video is for you. Stay tuned because we're going to be showing you a special modification to make a particular bait into another type of bait. What am I talking about? Well, it all started about 2 months ago when I was watching a video on YouTube. It was a video that was done by Mark Zona, and the name of the video is Blade Bait Fishing for Bass in Cold Water. So here where I live in Pennsylvania, we're still talking blade baits and spoons because the water temperature is still in the high 30s to low 40s where I am. I know down in Texas people are fishing for spawning bass already. But here, blades and spoons are still something that is appropriate to talk about because the water temperature is just so darn cold. Anyway, in this video that Mark Zona did, it was about blade bait fishing, but it really wasn't. And what I mean by that is he was fishing for bass with what he said were blade baits. And in the video, he talks about blade baits. He actually has one portion in the video where he opens up his blade bait box and shows you one of the most common blade baits, probably the first one ever made, which was called a silver buddy. But when I see him fishing in the video, he's not throwing the silver buddy. He's catching a lot of bass in 39-degree water temperature. And around at the 8-minute and 50-second mark in the video, he catches a bass and he unhooks it, and if you stop the video there, you can see what he's fishing with, and it's not a silver buddy. Now in the video, he does mention that he makes his own blade baits, so I imagine that's what he's talking about with the blade bait that he's using. When we talk about blade baits, usually it's a metal blade, and this is something that they all have in common, this metal blade, and then there's a hunk of metal, usually lead, on the bottom. So here's 3 different blade baits, and you can see that they're different. They're configured a little different, but they all have that commonality. This hunk of lead on the bottom here, and then this blade of metal, and then, you know, a hook configuration. So that's what you would expect to see when you see a blade bait, and the silver buddy is no different. But if you take a look at that Mark Zona video, and I'll put a link to that video under the description of my video so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Go to that 8-minute and 50-second mark and then freeze the video when he brings that bass in, and you can play around with pausing the video and seeing what he's got. It's not a blade bait, it's a modified bait, and I figured out what he's doing and modified some of my baits to do the same thing, and it's a really special action that you get out of the bait. So let's move over to my boathouse and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay folks, we've made it back to the boathouse. Right now we've got sleet and snow falling on the ground. It's just crazy. Tomorrow they're talking about another nor'easter. Here we are, the first day of spring, and it's snowing and sleeting. Tomorrow they're talking about a nor'easter, 4 to 8 inches of snow. Depending on who you listen to, it could be 0 to 60 inches of snow for all I know. Who knows? We'll see what tomorrow brings, but we can't get a day where it's out of the 30s, the air temperature, and the nights have been in the 20s every night, so the water still remains very cold. Can't wait for it to warm up so that we can get out and nail some fish. Okay, so let's show you what Mr. Zona was doing in that video. What he did was he took a spoon that had a bait fish profile. I don't have the spoon that he had, I don't know what kind it was, but I do have bait fish profile spoons, and that is the Blade Runner Duh spoon, the one we've talked about on other videos. And he configured it like a blade bait, just the way you see this one here. So it's as simple as drilling a hole in the back, and it's because it's lead, it's very easy to drill that hole. It does not take much, it's not difficult at all to drill the hole through it. And then on the front snap, where you would normally tie the line, you put a treble hook. And you have this configuration. You have this blade bait spoon hybrid, I guess I'll call it. And trees are blowing against the boathouse here. It's crazy. I like hybrid baits. I think one of the hybrids that I've talked about in the past is the Lucky Craft Gunfish. It's a nice bait because it does 2 things. That's what I mean by hybrid. It walks the dog like a Sammy or a Zara spook, but it also spits and pops like a popper would. So that's what I would call a hybrid bait. And this is an amazing little hybrid bait in itself. And the reason why I call it that is because when you configure it this way and you throw it out there, it has this fall like a spoon. It has this crazy fall to it. But when you lift up and jig it upward, it goes brrr, just like a blade bait. You have that same vibration that a blade bait makes brrr, each time you jig it up. When you have a normal blade bait, you get that when you lift up on the bait. But when the bait falls, it's just a subtle fall, and it's maybe just the slightest wobble, but the bait just falls kind of straight down. A spoon flutters, and this thing does both. As you lift up, you get that brrr blade bait effect, but then when it falls, you get this spoon effect. In fact, it's even nicer than configuring a spoon the way you would through the front, in my opinion. I don't know if it's because it's got this balance point, this teetering balance point, but the thing has this crazy fall to it, and it really looks like an injured shad or an injured bait fish. And when you throw it out there and you let it fall, especially on a slack line or semi-slack line, you can feel your line is just going like this, and just you can feel that right through the rod tip. The fish must be able to sense that from some distance away also, because it's just making a heck of a vibration as it goes down in the water column. I haven't had a chance to really fish the bait. I've experimented with it to see how it looks in the water, and I got to tell you, it looks fantastic. It's going to catch fish, and I can't wait to get out there and use it in cold water conditions especially. So we've got a hybrid bait. I have to thank Mark Zona for the bait. He didn't really talk much about what he was throwing, but on the video you can see it. Hopefully if he becomes aware of this video, he won't be too angry or upset. I assume it's a bit of a secret since he didn't talk about it directly, although he was showing what he was throwing, and he did say he makes his own blade baits. I think this is what he was referring to. Here's another color. Same configuration. I just drill a hole right through the bait, and you can put your snap in there and you're ready to go. Now the nice thing about these baits is I made a little production line and started drilling holes in my spoons, because putting a hole in there doesn't do any harm. You can still throw it as a spoon. So now I have a choice. I can fish it like a spoon the way I normally would without this hook on the front, or I could configure it so I can put the hook on the front and get my modified bladed spoon or my hybrid bait here. So it's really nice to have that advantage. I can just drill holes in these spoons. Doesn't affect the spoon action at all, but I can quickly configure one to make it into this other type of bait. And you know, the lakes that I fish, the fish have probably seen just about every kind of blade bait there is known to man. I mean, the lakes are pressured, and so having something like this, something that lifts up like a blade but then falls like a spoon, it gives them a little bit something different to see, and that sometimes is exactly what it takes to trigger fish when you're fishing in pressured water. The other thing that I'll mention on these is experiment where you drill the holes. I actually have 2 holes drilled in this bait. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's awfully small. I have one here and then one where the snap is going in. And so depending on where you put those holes, just like on a blade bait, it vibrates differently. The further back, the stronger the vibrations. But I like where I found where I put this particular hole, because when I lift up, the bait comes up sideways and then flutters back down, and then it comes up this way, and you can't predict which way it'll come up. It has that brrr, vibration to it, but it comes up kind of on an angle, which looks like an injured bait fish even that much more, and then it goes down on that, like that spoon action. So can't wait to get out and play around with it and fish it and see what kind of reaction I get out of the fish. So on this Blade Runner DUH spoon, the place that I like to put the hole is just above the fin, assuming that this decal is the same on every bait. It's just above that fin that is on the spoon. So actually, you don't need the decal. I just realized that now. The fin is part of the mold of the spoon. So just right on top of that fin is like the perfect spot for that for the action, at least on this one. But experiment with it for yourself and see what you like. Well, I hope you like this video. If you fish this bait, if you modify one, let me know what you think about how it works. Let me know if you're catching fish on it, whether you like it or not. Feel free to comment and let me know. I'm real curious to see from my viewers if this is helping them catch fish. And remember, we're certified Bassified. We want to continue to make these videos and bring the videos to you. If you like this video, or if you've been watching my videos but you haven't subscribed yet, or if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, share it with your friends, give me lots of comments, tell me what you're thinking, let me know what you'd like to see going forward, and I'll do what I can to produce the video for you. Can't wait to get out on the water. We're waiting for warm weather here in eastern Pennsylvania, and we're going to have a little bit of a wait. We're in a weird pattern. This is our fourth nor'easter now in like 4 weeks, and we're just in this pattern where it's cold, and eventually it's got to break and spring will come, and when it does, we'll get out on the water and do some serious fishing. All right, that's it for now. God bless your fishing endeavors.